sound of revival. Let heaven roll and light fall. Shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roll and light fall. Shake the ground with the sound of revival. You're worthy of honor and glory. You're worthy of all of our praise. You overcame. Jesus, awesome and powerful forever. Awesome and great is your name. You overcame. Come on, give a shout of praise, amen. Everyone needs compassion, a love that's never failing. Let mercy fall on me. And everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of the Savior, the hope of nations. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save forever. Jesus conquered the grave. For my Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. Yes, He is mighty to save. Forever, the author of salvation, He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Come on, we must shout and praise. He is the victorious one. He is the through you, I can do anything. Yes, I can do all things. 'Cause it's you who gives me strength. For nothing is impossible through you. Blind eyes are open. Hallelujah, Lord. Glorify your name. Glorify your name. Oh,
Hallelujah. You are worthy. You to be praised.
I want him glorified in my life. I want the world to see and recognize that I have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Lord, glorify your name. Glorify your name. Just glorify the Lord. We give you the praise and the glory. We give you the praise and the glory. It's okay. Let's sort of give me that first note for that bridge. The earth will be filled with glory, like water on the sea, filled with glory. For the earth will be filled with glory, like water on the sea, filled with glory. For the earth will be filled with glory, like water on the sea, filled with glory. For the earth will be filled with glory, like water on the sea. And I truly believe God has allowed America to prosper the way she has because we are a nation that was founded in a belief in God. And it sort of helps to lead me into what we're dealing with today. It sort of helps to lead me into what I'm going to be talking about this morning. The title slide is this. It says, oh, let's see if we're ready to bring it up. Set up for success. You see that there's a picture of a king there. We don't have a king in the United States of America. We elect a president. We elect other officials to represent us in our Congress. And we do that on the national level. Then in our state level, we have a governor. And we have other representatives that we elect to serve the legislature. Depending on whether or not you live in a county, if you live in a city, you may have a mayor that's elected, and then councilmen, or you may have an executive that's elected, and then the councilmen that serve with them. But we have a form of government. God blesses government. But I want to tell you, as we get into this today, set up for success. As I start off, I'm going to sort of describe to you what God truly originally designed as the perfect form of government. See, God wanted to establish the perfect nation at one time today. And he still desires to do that. He still will one day do that. He'll establish the perfect rule, the perfect government. He's going to establish that one day. But in looking at, getting together for what I wanted to speak about today, I struggled with this. I said, Lord, exactly, I knew a little bit about what I wanted to say, what I wanted to do, where I thought He was leading me, and I said, God, I really need your help on this. And we're going to, over the next week or two, maybe 3, we're going to look at a guy by the name of Saul. Not the Saul of the New Testament, who later became Paul, but the Saul of the Old Testament, who becomes the king of Israel. And there's a reason why I want to do this, because when we look at the life of Saul, everything that God set there for him, God set Saul up for success. I just want to tell you that. He set Israel up for success. He sets us up for success. And I will show that to you later on as we get into the message this morning. But let me just give you a little bit of background here, hopefully so you can understand where I'm coming from. Like I said, God desired, He wanted to establish a nation the way that He thought it should be. The way He knows it should be. And let me read you what I have here. God had planned that His people would be different from others. See, right here when I'm talking about initially the nation of Israel, but even us. God has planned for us to be different than other people. We should be different than other people. We should just very easily fit into the world. But God, He planned that His people would be different from other nations. He planned a society in which God Himself was the king. Now think about that for a second. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? But literally, He did this. He planned a society in which God Himself was the king. But the problem was, Israel, after a while, wanted to be like everybody else. Who in here likes to be different? There's a couple oddballs, something. We can be odd in good ways. We may just be different. And sometimes we don't always want to go along with the crowd. Sometimes we don't mind being different. But most people, even if you're a little different, you still sort of gravitate to people who are like you, that are like-minded. I guess I should say, let me phrase it this way. Who here wants to be a loner? Who here wants to be a hermit? You would, Stephen. And actually, we want you to be. No, I'm teasing. But none of us, and I guess I really should have probably phrased it that way a little bit more. We a lot of times don't like to be that one single person who really stands out or who's alone. And Israel got to the place where they wanted to be like every other nation around them. That's what they wanted to be. And see, direct rule from God only works when the people are wholly devoted to God. If not, it results in the chaos that we see in the book of Judges. If you've ever read the Bible and the Old Testament, Judges, it's one messed up book. So there's a lot of good stories in there, but there's a lot of messed up stories too. But it results in chaos. It is better to have a human king than no king at all. Fact is, here's how we might list the preferences of how God would like things to be. Bring the next one. What He would desire, what God desires is God as king. The situation God wanted. His perfect will. His perfect will is that He's absolute ruler, period. And we know, ultimately, that is how it is. He is the sovereign Lord. He is the sovereign God. But being God, He does not force His will on us. That's why He's made us, free moral agents. We have a free will. We can either elect to let Him be our king, or we can say, no, we don't. Okay? But they decided they want to be like everybody else. So then there's the second one, a human king. The situation God allowed. Now again, let me tell this here for you. Just because God allowed it does not mean He sanctioned it. Because here we have the word here, you may have heard this, His permissive will. Who's ever heard that? His permissive will. This is the perfect will, but this is God's permissive will. As long as I'm walking in His have you heard somebody say, as long as I'm walking in His permissive will, I'll be okay? Have you ever heard anybody say that? But I have something behind where it says permissive will. What does it say? Which is still rebellion. It's still sin. Because what you're saying is, you're saying, God, I don't want to do it your way. I want to do it my way. Will you somehow, in some way, just overlook it and just bless me anyway? And there are times that God He does that. He allows things to sort of happen, not that he wants it to happen, but he'll still allow his glory and his power to be made known, even in disobedience. An example of that would be Pharaoh. Pharaoh, he says, I raised Pharaoh up for such a time as this. He took the stubbornness of Pharaoh and used it against him to declare his glory. He would have rather had Pharaoh truly listen at the first hand and just sort of recognize him as God, but no, but he knew Pharaoh wouldn't do that, so he used Pharaoh to display his power and might to the Egyptians, to the Israelites, and to the rest of the world. But his desire was to truly allow himself to be king, to be the one to truly, where the world would walk in his perfect will, recognizing God as the king. And then there was the other situation, you see in Judges, no king, there were some judges around, and it just resulted in chaos. Because what it was, the people, because they didn't have when they had a leader, they did okay. But it's like when that leader died off and there wasn't someone to take their place, all of a sudden, everyone did what they wanted. Like Mike said, they did what was right in their own eyes. You know, a generation rose who didn't know God, and all of a sudden there was a mess. So if God himself can't be king, if we will allow him to be king, then he will permit, he will allow the second one. He will allow other people to be in leadership. But again, like I said, but the people of God rejected God's rule. For the Lord says, they have rejected me as their king. For the people asked for a king. And they said, appoint a king to lead us, as such as all the other nations have. And then the prophet Samuel at the time, he begins to warn the people about human governance. He tells them, look, they're weak, they're fallible. Power corrupts. So Samuel warned them that a king who would rule over them would take some of their they may take some individual in their family to serve him, would take their lands, would take their possessions, even some of their servants, he would take. In other words, the king would take what he wanted to make sure that his kingdom, his reign would go well. But yet they still decided to say, well, we want a king anyway. So again, Samuel warned them, but they kept on persisting that they wanted a king. So in spite of the warning, the people still said, we want a king to be over, so the Lord allowed Plan B to take place. But even though they were walking in rebellion, because they were rejecting their God, they were rejecting their king, God begins to put a plan in place to where he was setting this king up to succeed. And I'll explain that to you, but in order to get that, I want to look at this individual, sort of look at the beginnings of Saul, because as we get into this over the next several weeks, you're going to see how Saul changes from one person into another. So this week I sort of want to let you know how God has set up him for success, and how even in our own nation, even in our lives, God sets us up for success. But as we begin to look at the life of Saul, we really won't get into it today, but as we begin to look at the life of Saul, you will find out whether or not you are successful in that setup will depend on you. God's already made the way, but will depend on you. But I just want to discuss Saul a little bit this morning, because if you know anything about the Bible, Saul's mainly remembered for his failure. But I don't want to get to you today. I want to look at his start. Because here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Who here wants to be remembered for their failures? Raise your hand. Who here wants to be remembered for their failures? None of us do we? A lot of times we like to be able to what? Forget our failures. Or somehow somebody wish that they never occurred. But the things we know, once something happens, it can't be what? It can't be undone. But yet, unfortunately, it seems like Saul's remembered for his failures. But I'm here to tell you, Saul did not start out that way. And I want to look at that because there's a lesson we can learn in this. So let's just dive into it. So I'm going to be reading a lot of scripture here, and I'm going to make some commentary, but I want to read the scripture. I want you to get a gist of who Saul is and how this all transpired. In 1 Samuel chapter 9, verses 15 through 21, here's what we read. It says, and now the Lord had told Samuel the previous day, about this time tomorrow, I will send a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him to be the leader of my people, Israel. He will rescue them from the Philistines, for I have looked down on my people in mercy and have heard their cry. When Samuel saw Saul. Yeah, Saul. Yeah. When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said, "That's the man I told you about. He will rule my people." Just then Saul approached Samuel at the gateway and asked, "Can you please tell me where the seer's house is?" "I am the seer," Samuel replied. "Go up to the place of worship ahead of me. We will eat there together, and in the morning I will tell you what you want to know and send you on your way. And don't worry about those donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, for they have been found. And I'm here to tell you that you and your family are the focus of all of Israel's hopes." And Saul replied, But I am only from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel, and my family is the least important of all the families of that tribe. Why are you talking like this to me?" See, Saul, first off, he's saying, "Whoa, wait a second, buddy. Whoa, I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. Why are you saying all Israel look at me? I'm a nobody. My family is a family of nobodies." See, last week when we were dealing with Moses, we were talking about the 5 excuses. The answer God's way, and Moses issued his excuses, and how God gave him an answer to all of them. Because Moses, Lord, been there, done it, tried it, I failed. And God said, "Well, it's different this time. I'm with you, but here, all this going on." And then Samuel's saying this to Saul, and Saul's like, it's like, "Wait, I was just out looking for some donkeys. That's all I was doing. I was just doing what my dad told me. I'm just out looking for what was lost and all, what the different stroke thing. What you talking about, Willis? That thing." But he's saying, "Look, I'm a nobody." But then the story goes on, but I'm going to later on. If you would go ahead and read Samuel 9 and 10, 11, 12. Read the story of Saul and just sort of see how this starts off. But then we read in the 10th chapter, verses 1 through 9, it says, "Then Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it over Saul's head. He kissed Saul and said, 'I'm doing this because the Lord has anointed you to be the ruler over Israel, his special possession. When you leave me today, you'll see 2 men beside Rachel's tomb in Zilrah, on the border of Benjamin. They will tell you that the donkeys have been found and that your father has stopped worrying about them and is now worried about you. He is asking, "Have you seen my son?" When you get to the oak of Tabor, you will see 3 men coming towards you who are on their way to worship God at Bethel. One will be bringing 3 young goats, another will have 3 loaves of bread, and the third will be carrying a wineskin full of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 loaves, which you are to accept." Now, it's sort of like I said, by the way, when they offer it, take it. "And when you arrive in Gibeah of God, where the garrison of the Philistines is located, you will meet a band of prophets coming down from the place of worship. They will be playing a harp, a tambourine, a flute, a lyre, and they will be prophesying." Now, again, I'm telling you, if Samuel was setting Saul up to know, hey, look, when you come across this, there will be no mistaking about what I'm telling you, because he tells them how many goats, how many loaves of bread. He tells them even the type of instruments that they're playing, and exactly where he's going to encounter this stuff. So he didn't want Saul to have any doubt about what he was telling him. It says, "And they will be prophesying. At that time, the Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them. You will be changed into a different person. After these signs take place, do what must be done, for God is with you." Remember that. Okay? Do you remember what did God tell Moses? He says, "I will be" what? "With you." And Samuel here is telling Saul what? He says, when all this happens, go do what needs to be done, because what? God is with you. "Then go down to Gilgal ahead of me. I will join you there to sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. You must wait for 7 days until I arrive and give you further instructions." As Saul turned to leave, now listen, as Saul turned to leave, God gave him a new heart. And all Samuel's signs were fulfilled that day. So God, he wanted Saul to know, yes, I have chosen you, and I'm going to prove it to you, because the prophet speaking over you, and everything he said will come to pass. And when it did, he wanted Saul to understand, I've chosen you. So we're going to go a little bit further down in this chapter. So we read this exactly what happens to Saul. Everything that Samuel told him, it happens. Okay? But then it says later, Samuel called all the people of Israel to meet before the Lord at Mizpah. And he said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, has declared. I brought you from Egypt and rescued you from the Egyptians and from all the nations who were oppressing you. But though I rescued you from your misery and distress, you rejected your God today and have said, no, we want a king instead. Now, therefore, present yourselves before the Lord by tribes and clans. So Samuel brought all the tribes of Israel before the Lord, and the tribe of Benjamin was chosen by lot. Then each family of the tribe of Benjamin before the Lord, and the family of the Matrites was chosen. And finally, Saul, the son of Kish, was chosen from among them, but when they looked for him, he had disappeared. All of a sudden he was there. It was like one of these things. Now you see me? Now you don't. He disappeared. So they asked the Lord, where is he? And the Lord replied, listen, he is hiding among the baggage. He's hiding. In other words, he doesn't want what? He doesn't want the attention. He doesn't want the fanfare. In fact, one of the titles I have for this message was The Reluctant King. He did not want to be king. He did not want to be in that position. Even though all of that Samuel shared with Saul, that God told him to share with him, and it came to pass, even though he changed it, Saul still didn't really want that position. He was hiding among the baggage. And it says, so they found him and brought him out, and he stood head and shoulders above anyone else. Then Samuel said to all the people, this is the man the Lord has chosen as your king, and no one in Israel is like him. And all the people shouted, long live the king. Then Samuel told the people what the rights and duties of the king were. He wrote them down on a scroll and placed it before the Lord. Then Samuel sent the people home again. When Saul returned to his home in Gibeah, a group of men whose hearts God had touched with him, but there were some scoundrels who complained, how can this man save us? They scorned him and refused to bring him gifts, but Saul ignored them. And it's important to remember that. That's all I'm going to do with the scripture reading this today. But I want you to see, Saul, he didn't want this position. But we know that when God says, you're going to meet this guy at this time of day, fact is, there he is right there. Oh, there he is. There he is. So God told Samuel. And when Samuel saw him, Samuel said, yep, he's the one. Because earlier, when you begin to read about Saul, it says Saul was one of the most handsome men in all of Israel. And as it said there, he stood head and shoulders above the rest, which means, if you were going to get in a fight, this is the type of dude you wanted to go in a fight with. Because, just his presence could cause somebody to back down. Because he just sort of had that type of look about him. Now again, when you hear that, you think about, okay, this is what when you just see him initially, this is how he looks. But yet, when they're looking for him, here's this big guy hiding. He's hiding. Saul starts out very, very humble. He starts out realizing that, this is really too big of a task for me. And as we will find out in the messages that are coming up, that changes, and we'll get there. I don't want to get to today, but I want to focus on his beginning. Saul started out right. Saul started out saying, God, I can't do this. And you know what? He is exactly right. He can't. And that's why Samuel told him everything he did. He said, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Fact is, all of this stuff happened to him. Because God was setting him up to be successful. See, Saul was chosen to be the anointed leader of Israel to deliver his people. The moment Samuel sees Saul, in the blink of an eye, he recognizes that this was the man who was going to govern the people of God. Saul, who comes from a humble background, becomes the anointed king. The man who came from a nobody family. The one who considered himself a nobody ends up becoming the king. See, God graciously blessed this new plan of a king. And God sets Saul up for success by 3 remarkable things that happened to him. Because God wanted him to be successful in this role. So what are the 3 things? I'm going to hit them. And the thing is, this is the same thing that God does for us. And that's what I want you to understand this morning. This is the same thing that God does for us. Many times we think we're not worthy. But God desires to set us up for success. And when we begin to see who Jesus is, we begin accepting, all of a sudden God will begin to set us up for success. Let's look and see what he says here this morning. The first thing that happened was, when he was anointed, the Spirit of the Lord comes upon him in power. The Spirit of the Lord comes upon him in power. Then second, he is transformed. He becomes a new person. He gets a new heart. God literally changes his way of thinking, allows him to view things differently. And third, Samuel tells him, whatever job you're given to do, do it. And this is why God is with you. God is with you. Like I said, this was true of Saul, and it is true of you. However down you might feel about circumstances, however far from God you may feel, however difficult you may find it to pray, whatever doubts you may have, the Spirit of the Lord is upon you, and you're being transformed into his likeness, and God is with you. God is setting you up for success. Because when Saul started out, he was successful. Because there was a situation where the king of the Ammonites, he was really terrorizing the children of Israel that lived on the east side of the Jordan River. In fact, as it says that to humiliate them, this is during, for certain times, where they really had an army that could go really defend them. That king, he gouged out the right eye of every single male Israelite that lived over there. And if I'm not mistaken, the Bible says that 7,000 of them escaped to another city. When this king finds out, he goes to that city, and they said, look, make peace with us. He says, well, the only way I make peace with you is you allow me to gouge out your right eye. He says, then we'll be at peace. He's already did it to all the rest of them that are on that side. They said, well, tell you what, give us 7 days. We're going to send word, and if a rescuer doesn't come during that time, do with us as you will. And when the word got Saul was plowing in his fields, I hear, here's a king, and go show you how humble Saul was. Saul was not, he was busy working the fields. He didn't allow his kingship to change him. And he was out there plowing the fields. And when a message came to him that this is what this king was saying to some of his people, it says Saul became angry. But it's a good kind of anger. Because he became angry for the Lord. And it says he took the oxen that he was plowing with, he chopped them up into pieces, and sent it out to the rest of the children of Israel and says, this is what I will do to your oxen if you don't come and help me fight for our fellow brothers. And the Bible says when Saul did that, God put the fear of God, the fear of Saul, in these other people. They came and they joined themselves to Saul. And then the story goes, Saul goes in and he rescues these people in a miraculous way. But he started out very humble. And Saul, even though he didn't want it, God did. He
came in, he began to anoint Saul to where Saul could go out and do mighty exploits. And the people began to reverence him and honor him. And in fact, if you remember earlier, I said that there were some scoundrels who refused to bring him gifts. They said, how can this man do this? After this battle, the people said, who are those people who said this about our king? Go get them and so we can kill them. And of course, some people would be, well, hey, it's God's retribution coming out. These are the ones who mistreated me, and God's going to also bring wrath and judgment down on them. But Saul says, no, God has given us a great victory. No one else is dying today. So it truly goes to show that, so Saul started out truly pursuing God and living the way that God wanted him to do. But as we get on later on in these weeks, you're going to see how that changed. But the whole thing I want you to understand this morning is, even though we find out later on how Saul turns out, that is not how God intended him to turn out. That was not God's plan for him to turn out that way. God's plan for him was to be successful. And he showed it by what he did, by allowing him to be filled with the Spirit, by becoming a new person, by understanding that God was with him. And that's what I want you to understand this morning. God is offering the same thing as he's setting us up for success. You're a pastor, how do you know that? I'm going to tell you that I'm going to close with these two scripture verses here to be able to tell this to you, because this is what the Bible declares. Paul, who at one time today was named Saul, different Saul though, said this in 2 Corinthians 5:17. He says, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. So what if we belong to Christ? What are we? We're a new person. Then what's it say after that? The old life is gone, and what? A new life has begun. So there we see that if we believe in Christ, what we're given a new life. We're given a new heart. The power of God will come upon us. But even before this happens in the New Testament, God in the Old Testament through the prophet Ezekiel declares this. He's speaking a bit to the children of Israel, but he's also speaking to us who in the future generation who receive Christ. Listen to what he says. In Ezekiel 36, verses 25 through 27. He says, and then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. In other words, he's saying, what? I'm going to be the one who's cleaning you up. I'm going to be the one doing this. Your filth will be washed away, and you will no longer worship idols. Now listen to what it says in 26. And I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. And he says in verse 27, and I will put my spirit in you so that you will follow my decrees and be careful to obey my regulations. See, God there, in that prophecy there, he's declaring, he's setting us up for success. Because this walk that we have in Jesus Christ, we don't have to walk it alone. See, where we get in trouble is when we try to do this stuff alone. When we try to do it instead of relying on him doing it in us and through us. Because he says here, he says, well, I'm going to do this. Because he says in verse 27, he says, I will put my spirit in you so that you'll be able to follow my decrees. And you'll be able to obey my regulations. It's not something that honestly you really have to try to figure out on your own. It's called you just simply have to yield to him and allow what he's doing to happen in your life. And it's simply, honestly, just to believe that what he says he will do. And understand, as he told Moses and as he told Saul, that he's with you. But as we'll find out later on, too many times, we may start out like Saul, but unfortunately, we also may end up like Saul, which again, we'll talk about next week. But we all can start out right, and if we keep our eyes upon the Lord, we can stay that way, following him the way that we should. Because he's setting us up for success. Because when we accept Jesus, he allows his Spirit to come upon us, he makes us a new person, and he declares that I'm with you. Because Jesus said, I'm with you to the very end of the age. I will never leave you nor forsake you. to understand you don't have to go through this walk, this relationship alone. First off, He's placed you in a church family. We're here to support and encourage one another. But even more so than that, He's given you Himself. And He's given you these things so you know that you can be successful in what He's called you to do, because why? He's setting you up for success. He's declaring that over your life. Because He wants you to get to a place where honestly you realize that the ultimate choice is that He's King of your life. And when you realize that and you follow Him that way, I'm here to tell you, there's nothing on heaven and earth that can get in your way that would stop what He's going to do in your life. You will be successful. You will be victorious. But the key is keeping your eyes upon Him. And here's the great thing. Even if we stumble, if we fall, I wasn't necessarily going to go there. I told Steve to have that verse ready because I had it on there. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go there. But as the musicians get in place, I'll tell them to start playing. But as they get in place, to sing the song to end with. Maybe you got to, maybe you may say, well, Pastor, that's great. We know Saul started out right. And yeah, I started out right, but there's just something that's off. I really haven't been as faithful as I should. A guy named David found himself in a situation. And I'm going to read a part of his prayer that he prayed in Psalms 51. And maybe today, maybe you say, Lord, I've never realized I could be set for success. I'll do that in my life. Let me see how that's done. But maybe if you see it done, you say, well, Pastor, I faltered, I failed. Well, I have good news for you. Because if you come to Him with a humble heart, He'll come in and do the work. Because listen to this prayer of David. In Psalms 51, verses 10 through 13, here's what it says. It says, create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. In other words, you're saying, God, yeah, I got my eyes off you for a second, but Lord, restore me, renew me. Do not banish me from your presence, and don't take away your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and make me willing to obey you. Then I will teach your ways to rebels, and they will return to you. We have a God who's gracious and loving. And if we truly come before Him with a humble heart, even if we may have faltered off the path, He will restore us. But we have to come to Him saying, Lord, give me a clean heart again. Truly, allow me to be loyal to you. Renew within me a right spirit. Don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Lord, just I desire you. And I'm telling you, as you call out to God, that when you cry out to Him, He will do that. Because He's promised what He would do in the other verses. That the old life can be gone, a new life can begin. And even if you stay in that new life, the greatest thing about His mercy and grace is He can clean it up again. He can touch your heart again. But the question is, will you allow Him to? Now it's going to sound probably a little off with the sort we're going to do for altar here. But I want you to understand, because of what I read in the one verse is talking about, we are a new creation in Him. The life is gone, a new life has begun, because that He's going to give us a new heart, put a new spirit within us. He's going to take our stony heart and stubborn heart and give us a tender, responsive heart, and He will put a new spirit in you so that you'll be able to follow my decrees and carefully obey my regulations. I want you to understand, because God said He's with you, because of the things that He's done, because He has put His Spirit upon us, we've become a new person, He's with us, we understand that all things are possible with Him. And I want our declaration to be as we leave this place today. To understand that God has done this for you, but all things are possible with Him. And this life that we're now living, we're living by faith. We're not going to live by how we feel. We're not going to live by what we see. Because I'm telling you, you may go to bed one night feeling well, wake up the next day, what? Feeling like junk. I mean, honestly, I'm talking from a physical thing, that's not unusual. But I'm talking from a spiritual standpoint. I mean, there's been times I've been in service where the power of God, it's been so great. You go to bed. I mean, when you're in bed, it's like when you're laying down in bed. You can still feel the Holy Ghost goosebumps. You know what I'm saying, right? You're laying down and it's like, God, I can't imagine how it can get better. I can't wait till what tomorrow holds. And when you wake up in the morning, you feel like crap. I mean, you feel awful. All of a sudden, the joy that was in your heart seems like it isn't there. And you feel like saying, God, what in the world did I do in my sleep? What did I do in my sleep to get me from point A to point whatever? And the answer is nothing. Because we don't walk by feelings. We don't walk by sight. We walk by faith. And realizing that if He's called us, He'll do the work in us that needs to be done. We just need to keep our eyes upon Him. And when that time ever comes, say, Lord, I don't know what it is, I don't know what I'm talking about, but Lord, You're still worthy of my praise. You're still worthy of my praise. I'm going to praise You. Because I realize that without You, I'm nothing. And through You, that I can truly do anything. So I really want us to end this service on a really uptick, on an up note. Of us declaring that, Lord, through You, I can do anything. There's nothing impossible for You. Because God, You have set me up for success. And because of that, as long as I keep my eyes upon You, I will walk in success. So I declare that through You, I can do anything. Will you stand with me? And as we sing this song, if you just feel impressed with the Lord, just come up, just begin in praise and worship. Or maybe there's some things you need to work out. This altar is open for you. But I want you to know, God set you up for success. And we can understand that God is the God of the impossible.
Yes, He is.